Hello, friends. Remember how the Ragtags found a dark, frankly terrifying hole into the earth under a giant haunted fey oak tree? And for some reason, blimey, they decided to, just as unruffled as a Aarakocra's back, head right into that hole. Well, they found another larger, creepier, somehow even darker hole further inside that hole. And, yeah, you know what that means, eh? So, are you ready to hear the rest of the tale? Then let us commence. So, hiding sort of in plain sight in a ruined temple occupied by a strange arachno-fae cult, the Ragtags rushed to ensure the well-being of the seer Vilena. Vilena, who, if you'll remember, was being held prisoner and kept intoxicated with weird spider venom concoctions, but had been present enough to realize that the glimmer was somewhere under where they were and, this is the fun part, was being kept by none other than the Recluse, a.k.a. the trickster Vilta, a.k.a. the extremely murderous sister of Valrilin. Not the best news, but the companions were here for the glimmer, so if they had to go through the Recluse to get it, then, so be it, I guess. While everyone was worrying and fussing over Vilena, Unia decided to stealthily follow the strands of light that were leading everyone to the glimmer, to get an idea where they might be headed. Turns out, the strange, ethereal lights were flowing into a collapsed and ruined section of the temple. Peeking a little further, the unswerving Githyanki saw that the strands were traveling through the ruined section, and then over into a massive chasm brimming with darkness. Drogon followed along, and using his dark vision augmented with his really tip-top goggles, peered into the abyss. From where they were, all the half-elf could perceive was an unfathomable void, deeper than at least 150 feet, shrouded in mist and shadows that mocked even the most potent of magical illuminations. Oh, that's bound to be fine though, innit? Not wanting to push their luck hanging around up in the arachno-fae cult sanctum, and not having much choice about an alternative destination, everyone made haste to collect by the chasm and just get right to heading into it. There was a set of stairs of sorts, etched with exquisite precariousness into the chasm wall leading down to wherever and whatever it was at the bottom. One by one they began to descend the stairs, step by step moving further and further down into a most uncertain and oscillating darkness. As if the situation wasn't harrowing enough on its own, the strange shadows seemed to cause growing fear among everyone. And soon, most of the party were in a quiet panic, and even hearing strange voices at the edge of their minds. Despite their terror, the companions managed to descend to the depths below, finding themselves in a long black stone trench with only one way to go. As they navigated the tunnel, only Vilena could see the strands of light guiding their path. One might wonder what the darkness was hiding. Well, as it turns out, it was hiding quite a bit. When the heroes entered an ominous-looking cavern that had opened up, a voice, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, welcomed them in a lush and spine-tingling whisper. It was the Recluse. Internally panicking, though not appearing to be under attack, at least not yet, the companions began to shout a mess of various questions and requests, as well as, perhaps most audaciously, demands that they, demanded that the apparently alive Archfey trickster fulfill immediately. I mean, while you're asking, I guess. While clearly excited to have visitors to, well, obviously she wanted to toy with them until she became bored and then probably would proceed to eat them all or worse. Still, Vilta wasn't initially impressed with all the yelling at her to do whatever it was the Ragtags were saying. Maybe the strange darkness what had been on those stairs had scrambled their brain boxes more than it first seemed. After reasserting that she, the Recluse, was an immensely powerful being, and that the Ragtags and their friends were, well, not as immensely powerful, things proceeded with more direction and focus. In a surprising revelation, the Recluse explained that her life was sustained by the glimmer, which she confirmed was also with her. But the real shock came when she revealed that Gwyn Wynne's very essence is within the glimmer, and it was her mother's wish to keep her alive, after she had been mortally wounded by Valrilin. Instead of gratitude, the Recluse was annoyed by this fact. Typical second-born child. Staying on point, Varys suggested that the Recluse use her arachno-fae followers to help everyone in the fight against Valrilin, The Recluse, however, dismissed the cult as eccentrics and lunatics, disassociating herself from them. Turns out, they were just a bunch of balmy oddsticks that had set up residence upstairs and occasionally came down to find her to mixed and usually deadly results. Meanwhile, Vilena had fallen into a strange trance that the Recluse told everyone was the seer silently communicating with the Glimmer. The Recluse also said that as a result, Vilena was speaking with Gwyn Wynn as casually as one would discuss the weather. Through some other casual clues, Regal pieced together a startling new family revelation. Vilena was the lost spiderling, aka Gwyn Wynn's long-lost daughter, as well as the Recluse and Valrilin's sister. Whoa, I actually feel pretty bad for Vilena now. That's not exactly the sort of family you want to suddenly have to call your own now, is it? At this point, the Ragtags pushed the Recluse on Valrilin and Morgula's deceptions, thinking they were informing and educating her that she had killed the Spider Queen in mistaken and misdirected jealousy and rage. But it was here that Viltur admitted that she hadn't killed her mother out of any sort of mistaken or misdirected emotions, but had assassinated the Spider Queen because she was the only thing Valrilin loved. Wow. Again, this family makes it so terribly difficult to find even the slightest grain of sympathy for them. It was through this confession, though, that everyone was able to figure out that Valrilin's ultimate plan was to bring Gwyn Wynn back from death. An ultimate plan that the Ragtags now knew was ultimately flawed, as no scheme to resurrect the Sovereign of Spiders could work without accounting for the fact her spirit resided in the Glimmer, and not wherever Archfey went in the rare instances they were truly killed. In the awkward silence, the Recluse, true to her nature as an agent of chaos, released the Glimmer to Vilena's care, to ensure that everyone would indeed disrupt Valrilin's plans. The strange seer woke from her trance as the Recluse receded into shadows, leaving everyone alone in the cavern. I'm sure we won't be seeing her ever again, and for that I am glad. Vilena admitted that she had never had an inkling or idea that she was Gwyn Wynn's daughter, and that she was, as a result, an Archfey. She still saw herself as that little girl that was raised by a kind spider that lived in a meadow just outside Once Was. Anyway, now empowered by the Glimmer, Vilena transported everyone to a supposedly safe area near Once Was. She, Minko, and the rest of the little resistance band had camped here just a few days earlier. It was hoped that everyone could take a moment to collect themselves and then work out a next move. Sadly, in Myrkur Hain, safe is a relative term. Suddenly, the heavens and earth roared and shook as the huge rift in the sky, remember that? Sundered open further, spraying lightning and energy bursts throughout the firmament. The air trembled and the tear widened, now encompassing most of the north and eastern horizons, and stretching above the companions' heads, presenting a terrifying spectacle. You know, at this point, I usually have some kind of incredibly hilarious and tension-quashing quip to add here, but not sure what I can say about this right now.